The opinions shared by our guests today are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of their respective companies. They are here to share with us their experiences, expertise, and opinions acquired during the course of their careers from the companies and industries they have chosen to be part of over the years. Please allow me to introduce our panel experts for this one. Um, the first member of our panel is Mr. Rex Gu. He is the Chief Financial Officer of Maersk Group's Asia Pacific Operations Center. Maersk is, of course, an integrated logistics company headquartered in Copenhagen, Denmark. Rex himself joined the company 15 years ago, progressing over the years to take on the CFO role for the company's Asia Pacific operations. Rex, welcome to the show.
Thank you for
And
having me, Allan.
okay, now he will be joined by Jason Lee. He's Asia Pacific Finance Director at Targus Asia Pacific. Now, Targus designs and manufactures computer accessories. I have I myself, I have a multi-adapter from Targus that I use to charge any of my 3 laptops. Now, Jason has over 20 years of experience in financial services industry. Jason, welcome to the show and our last panel. Jason, you're there, right? Okay. Okay, so let me just get rid of this one. Now, gentlemen, a very good morning and thank you for taking part in the show again, once again. I'm sorry, repeating myself. Now, drawing from the poll results, if I could bring the poll results, please, and that's not yet ready. If they're not yet ready, we'll skip on and come back again later. Maybe we'll come back again and later. Okay. Anyway, the pandemic crisis coupled with, oh, there you go. Sorry. There you go. There's the result for us. If I could ask Rex and Jason, if you look at this poll right now, the question is, how do you alleviate the challenge shortage? 68% of our audience said we need to provide flexible work beyond the pandemic. So almost guaranteeing that, okay, when the pandemic is over, you can still work from home sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And then the second one was allow for transfers to other functions. In your view, if I could ask, Rex, is this in your line? Do you think this is these are representative of what finance leaders are facing today and strategies they're approaching?
Yeah, I mean, many of the options I would identify to. If I would select from the menu, my personal take, to my surprise, actually slightly lower on the scale. It would be the offering the transparency in the succession
strategies, right?
Strategies. Yeah, I looked online and what is the number one, the reason talents quitting companies. I think there's also covering our finance talents. It is a perceived lack of development and career advancement opportunities. So I would reckon by offering the transparency in succession planning, we as the leaders could ensure the employees understand, why they are on the list, or in other sense, why they are not on the list in terms of succession to critical roles. And it is important that we're turning this conversation around more into, if they are not on the list, right? What we can make them to be on the list. So it is a bit of a constructive spin. And this, of course, can turn the conversation around. We can take this chance and work with these talents to draft up the development plans that can help them address the issues and increase their performances, which in turn, I personally believe can result in improved talents engagement and hopefully the retention ratio as well.
And that's true. A lot of times during the HR interview, when people normally don't ask, what's in it for me in the long term? What's my career path? Usually you don't hear that kind of question be asked by candidates. They just want to get into the job first. Anyway, Jason, what about you? Do you agree or disagree with this list of priorities for our audience here? And what, in your view, beyond what Rex mentioned, where should there be an emphasis on? Maybe there's something missing here as well. Jason? You're on mute. I think, Jason, we can't hear you. Oh, we're having issues with Jason on technical side. Jason, maybe you can check your Zoom platform and see on the bottom. And while we're waiting for him to come in again for our audience, please do use the time and post your questions there to our two experts here to talk to us about the talent
Hello,
and
can
talent issues.
you hear me?
Yes, we can finally hear you, Jason. Go ahead.
Speak on telecom issues.
Yes.
Yeah, so I no, very much agree with the crew here. The top two one actually what I chose, as well. I mean, like Red said and everyone saying, I think in a way to painting, a long-term picture career, is something very critical. And nowadays, you hear people, I don't work for monies and other things, and which, I think, now people have more options. As company, if especially for finance, right? I think we're in very good position in finance career to offer them, a different exposures, different experience, and that's something that I think all the leaders in company, could do more.
Interesting. Thank you. Now, the pandemic crisis coupled with the economic crisis, so you've got two crises here, they have resulted in a change in the nature of work, right? We spoke earlier about people working from home or working remotely, or hybrid approach to working. Skill talent turnover has been a very high agenda here in Hong Kong, especially tech savvy, especially with tech savvy workforces leaving for other markets. If I had to ask both of you here, where do you struggle when it comes to recruitment and retention? Jason?
Yes, I really think pertains to Hong Kong, as you say, is a big problem. And to me, I think it's become really a long-term problem, especially in Hong Kong. I mean, my recent experience is, I have the job openings, but I just lack of applicants. I'm not talking about, whether qualified or not, or whatever. I just don't have enough applicants, and also higher than normal turnover. So, but if we really look at that, we all number person, right? I think I can answer by really there is a big shift of demographic in Hong Kong, and we actually having what I call a reverse population pyramid. I just give you a number which I just downloaded from the Hong Kong Census and Statistics Department. Compared to the mid 2020, which is the time of pandemic, to up to now, some stunning number. Between the age of 20 to 40, the number of population in Hong Kong has decreased by 200,000. I think that's quite stunning. But the year over 60, which hopefully by the time I could retire, the population has increased by 150,000.
Oh,
compared to 2 years ago. So, and other piece of information or numbers. Guess what's the median age of Hong Kong is nowadays? It's 44.8 years old. If you compare it, yeah, exactly. And again, it's all official data. China, it's 38 years old.
wow.
Malaysia, 30 years old. India, 28 years old. So,
Jeez.
so I mean, I think that that can explain, the challenge for recruitment retention will continue to be a challenge, unless the demographic change. Of course, I think we can explain by, as we know, in the last 2 years, a lot of Hong Kong people have immigrated to other countries. And also with the geopolitical tensions and all other reasons, a lot of companies, they moved their operations, regional headquarters out of Hong Kong. Certainly, Singapore is a popular, location as well. The last couple of days, like you said, Allan, I mean the economic crisis, the pandemic changed people's perspective, and just for my own example, I have a staff last year. She decided to be a full-time mother because her helper has quit the job, so no one take care of children. So she had to be a full-time mom, which I totally respect that decision and other things. But again, back to all the statistics and population demographics, it is a big problem in Hong Kong.
It feels like Japan. And again, anyway, thank you
Well,
for that.
I hope we don't. I hope we don't become
Japan. Okay, and thanks for that, Jason. Rex, what about you? Do you see a trend of when we showed that poll, right? One of the options for filling in gaps is to get somebody from non-finance work in the finance function. Do you see that kind of trend happening? And is that possible at all in, say, in market like Hong Kong, where we hire people that are, or move people from inside the organization that are not finance to take on finance positions?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to highlight that I'm not based in Hong Kong. I'm based in Shanghai, where the talent trend, as Jason, you rightfully mentioned, which I'm fully aware of, is not happening as not yet, at least. It's more of a not reactive, but a more proactive search for non-finance background talents to join in the finance functions, more of a deliberate approach. And particularly for talents coming with data, technology, and data science background, so to speak. I'm also speaking of my company and my personal experiences, because we do have talents working in our functions, both locally, regionally, and globally for those roles. And so all of us joining this conference could agree to allow finance profession to engage more in a value creation space beyond our traditional transactional and custodian roles. We should and must enabling a better and data empowered decision making for the business, right? That is imperative. With our faster, hopefully richer and better insights provided to our business partners, and B, stepping up as the data value chain beyond the data collection, storage, and right up to the area section to data integration and predictive analytics. To do so, right? Then these mandate requires us to embed those skills, particularly digital skills, across our finance operation. Those skills could be algorithm, programming, modeling, even you may say the ability to translate what says in the system in those fancy software into an actionable business insights. That obviously means we are open for talents with those digital flavor to join us and help us to accelerate the value creation journey in our profession. So to repeat, it is a deliberate search. We're looking for people coming from non-finance background rather than a market shift, or at least not observed here in Shanghai so far.
Okay, thank you. It's probably happening even in Hong Kong as well. Now, Gartner says skills and competencies are key to a successful digital transformation of the finance function, right? Because we've also been hearing that finance transformation is very important as part of an organization's overall digital transformation. I have to ask you, Rex, how do you build both the skills and competency where availability is a big issue? So sorry, it's a loaded question. It's a very hard one to answer. What do you think, Rex?
I think availability comes down to investment, right? And talents. And you may even argue that with the right amount of investment, the dollar size, and you can attract the right people, right? You want to really get on board. And then, in my view, it boils down to alignment. The alignment with business from us in finance, not only happening in the region or the local, right, but also in the HQ, in headquarters, that whether the ambition of digital transformation of the finance function, as many of us talked about earlier in the sessions, is that a unilateral pursuit? We want to become digitally smarter, better value creation more rather than transactions, right? Is that what we just want to be for ourselves? Or it is a consensus, it's a handshake. We see eye to eye with business that they have the appetite to buy in this vision we sold to them, and they want to finance it. They want to invest, same as us, because they have the skin in the game as well, right? They got to reap the benefits, same as us. And actually, ultimately, it's for the business. So this is critically important, in my view, that we have the alignment before we could invest and scale up our digital skills and capabilities and competencies, including the approach, as I just mentioned about, right? Welcoming talents with also digital flavors, and ultimately admittedly, right, those talents come with a price tag. Even so, more expensive than the traditional finance talents we're talking about. This is where alignment, investment is the key to the challenges, in my view.
Thank you, Rex. Now, Jason, if I got ask you, okay, especially these days, how do you anticipate for skills and experiences you need in finance, especially if somebody moves away or you need to, maybe you're bringing in new technology, you need a specific skill set. How do you anticipate for that? Is that even possible?
Well, I mean, certainly, nowadays, you want to look for someone who is, have some level of tax saving. This is almost like a must. Okay, but instead of like the technical skills and other things, and I really think we should focus more on the soft skill side. Just a lot of times now, finance plays a role as a change agent. Okay, so whether of course if we have like a system implementation change, so certainly finance will lead the way. But even for we have an operation change, and strategic direction change, other things, and finance, really play an important role to be the change agent and to facilitate the change, for the benefit of the company. So that's something that certainly there's a skill that it's a must, especially nowadays in finance professions. And the other thing, it's very simple. You just need to have growth mindset. Like, so look, Allan like to say, the pandemic, things moving so fast, the economic uncertainties, recently the interest rate hike in the US, the strong USD, the oil price, inflations and supply chain interruption, and on and on and on. Okay. So, as a finance professions, we need to learn. We need to learn about the macro environment. We need to be advisors, to the business. That's something that growth mindset and the ability to lead the change. I think that's something that is important. With the complements of the tax saving side.
That's okay. Thank you very much, Jason, for that one. If I could ask Rex here, okay, we talk about, okay, we have a shortage. We recognize that. We're trying to build it somehow. What can we learn from running a finance function as it relates to overcoming the skills shortage? Is there anything that we've learned specifically in finance that would not just be, it's a learning experience for everybody, that not just the finance function, I mean, that all the other departments can also learn as well in terms of overcoming the skills shortage?
And if anything from me, the first like acknowledge that is of course the conversation is about finance talents, right? There's the shortage of scarcity, but it's everywhere, right? We're not alone. So if we can generalize ways, approaches to elevate that kind of a pain or to reduce the gap. And first of all, I would say the increase in diversity when we look at our candidates. I reckon I have mentioned a few times, and we should open our doors for people with business background, with technological background, join us, because the digital transformation is not just a digital, it's not just finance, right? It requires somebody to build the infrastructure, and or someone could sell the story, right? Sell the insight to our stakeholders. So be inclusive in your talent search. And number two, I would suggest focusing on upskilling of our existing finance colleagues, our staff. It could be through up development or training programs that also building on their existing strengths, keep them engaged, right? And number three, it will be engaging with our base. I'm talking about base. I'm talking about the existing staff working for us. And we're going to secure their buy-in. We're going to secure their retention, okay? And there's many ways to do that. You don't need me to share my thoughts. So my points, it all boils down to a quote from the famous Richard Branson, which I personally like quite a lot, is train your people well enough so they can lead, but treat them well enough so they don't. Back to you, Allan.
Thank you very much for that one, Rex. Okay, Jason, let me ask you this. Okay, there's always two options to filling in a role. One is you buy your way in. That means you hire from outside. The other ones you build, and you build by either recruitment internally, of course. So we're basically asking, in terms of a recruitment strategy, do you use an external agency versus just developing from internal, recruiting or transferring people? What's the best way to overcome this workforce shortage that we're currently experiencing?
Well, my answer would be it really depends. It really depends, on your company, the size, whether you're international, etc. But my observation is, in between, there is also a COE model or sales service model, which a lot of companies on board on that. And speaking of which, and I recall my first experience when I worked in IBM, it was 10 years ago, and I was one of the managers who helped IBM to move not the accounting, not the operation, the LAP, but the FP&A functions to Malaysia for the whole Asia. So this is something that's that I think will continue to happen. But whether buy or build, right? In a sense, you are actually still building, your internal talents, because those talents in COE will eventually becomes your country controller, becomes a finance director, right? Because in finance, we certainly want people who have all that experience. And again, using my example, my very first job when I finished school in Canada, when I worked at IBM, I was being an accountant. But think about it in Hong Kong, just in Hong Kong, if you want to have that exposure, account experience in the MNC, it's very difficult now because a lot of those jobs have been, either outsourced or have moved to the COE, which certainly they don't put in Hong Kong. But certainly for a small and medium size, which I think pertains to probably a lot of audience in Hong Kong, unless you're a branch of MNC, certainly building it's the way. And like Brett say, I totally agree. It's comes to your hiring strategy. You want to hire people with diverse background. Okay, you're going to retain them, perhaps give them some flexibility, and motivate them, right? So to incent them, to copy, the world outside, which is basically things are changing every single day. And last but not least, but if you go to the path building a talent, you need to help them to paint your career path. Whether you expect the MNC or small medium size, I think it's on the leader's hands to do that. But it's all have to be done individually, because every individual look for different things, and at different time of the career, they look for different elements as well.
Very true as well. Okay, so gentlemen, we're down to the last 5 minutes or so. If I could ask both of you, we talk a lot about recruitment. We recognize that there's a shortage. We recognize different strategies for solving this talent shortage that we're facing right now. If I were to ask you, what is that one advice that you would give to both finance leaders and HR, and perhaps even the rest of the C-suite, to solve this talent crunch? If you could think of one advice, what would that be? Rex, let's start off with you on this. What's your one advice for finance leaders to solve this talent crunch that we have?
The one I haven't covered in on previous sharing, I would say it is building a talent pipeline, even when we are not actively hiring. A talent pipeline should be developed in order to identify potential candidates, right? That's why we're having them in place, who can continuously being approached when vacancy arise. In a nutshell, my advice would be developing your relationship with your future talents. That will help shorten the time to hire, improve the interview process, and ultimately, right, will help to alleviate the talent crunch pains when it arises.
Yeah, thank
Back
you.
to you.
Very, very forward thinking. Thank you very much for that, Jason. Sorry, Rex. Jason, what about in your case? What's your one advice?
If both you one advice or one word that I would say, it's for HR and finance leader, it's empathy. I think empathy is the key. It's how you treat the people in the business. At the end of the day, right, we talk about talent and skills and other things, but it's the relationship of people. There's this relationship between the manager and subordinate. Whether we put ourselves in their shoes, right, and to understand the need, but it works that way. I also expect my boss, right, to also put himself or herself, into my shoes. So that's the magic word that I would say. Empathy.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Jason. So we've come down to the end of our session for this morning. It was indeed a pleasure and honor to have Rex and Jason in our panel. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Hope to catch you on our next Future CFO conference, which will be next year and will be physical. We're looking at that one already. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Allan.